So this video has kind of been a long time coming, but because the Bulls season has been so packed and busy with games, news, and content, I just kept putting it off. But now that the Bulls season has essentially been put on hold for a week, what better time than to do a video on Lonzo Ball? And really, it's more so a video of me admitting that I was wrong about this guy, and how my skepticism of him all of last season, when all the trade rumors were swirling around him and the Bulls, that those were unfounded. And I'll explain why in more detail. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well, guys. Real quick, if you caught my video yesterday, you know I announced the first giveaway for the channel reaching 20,000 subscribers, in which I'll be giving tickets for 2 to 1 lucky winner to a Bulls game at the United Center this season. Thank you to all of those who messaged me to enter into the drawing. I will be drawing the winner this evening and announcing the winner on my community page, as well as in tomorrow's hot takes video, which, by the way, feel free to leave your hot takes in the comments to be included in tomorrow's video, so be on the lookout for all of that. And then finally, I'll be announcing the jersey giveaway this week, so make sure you're tuning in and don't miss the announcement for that one. But anyway, now that we got that all out of the way, let's talk about Lonzo Ball, and how for the first time in his career, he has found his place, his niche in the Chicago Bulls lineup, and how his skill set fits this system so well and has been a big reason for the Bulls' success so far this season. Now, I need to preface this by saying that if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that last season and even into this offseason, I was one of the bigger Lonzo Ball skeptics. I thought he was a bit overhyped. I acknowledged that his skill set fit with the Bulls and what they needed in a floor general and perimeter defender, but I just didn't think that Lonzo was anywhere close to the type of answer that this Bulls team needed to be great, which to an extent is still true, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a little bit. But I was more so skeptical of the fact that I didn't want to gamble and pay a big contract to a guy who hadn't really proven much in terms of winning in this league. And when you already have a star player in Lavine, who had been kind of suffered the same sort of criticism of being a great player, insanely talented, but couldn't win, which again, not fair portrayals of either player, but that was my biggest hesitation of Lonzo. But the other thing I wasn't so sure about him was his fire and drive to win. Granted, I didn't follow the Pelicans super closely, but whenever I did see him play, I just didn't see that competitive spirit and energy that I like to see in players that are on the Bulls. It wasn't because of his dad. You know, I know some Bulls fans were a bit wary because of his dad and the unnecessary attention that he can sometimes bring to his kids. That didn't bother me at all. It was more so the hesitation around him being the point guard of the future for the Chicago Bulls, because bringing him in would signal that he's going to be here for the long term. And of course, most of you guys know I actually wanted Ben Simmons, and let me explain before you torch me in the comments, because obviously, based on what we now know, everything's centered around Simmons and the fact that he still cannot shoot to save his life. Yes, in hindsight, not going after Simmons in a trade was the correct call, but at the time, I saw an opportunity to snag an All-NBA player, a multiple All-Star and top defensive player candidate, who was an incredible playmaker, to potentially get him on the cheap while his value was extremely low. But that's neither here nor there. It didn't happen. The Bulls got Lonzo, and Ben Simmons still remains on the Sixers and is yet to play a game this season. Now, before I discuss why Lonzo has been so impactful for the Bulls this season and how he's finally been able to fit into a roster for the first time in his career, let's just start by doing a brief history and background on how Lonzo Ball found his way into the NBA. So as most of you know, Lonzo Ball was one of the most heavily touted prospects coming out of high school. Some of it had to do with his dad, some of it had to do with the fact that he had 2 younger brothers who were also great basketball players, but it was more so with just how great and talented he was at handling the ball, running an offense, scoring and defending, and just putting up insane numbers at his high school in Chino Hills. Get this, at his junior season, he averaged 25 points per game, 11 rebounds, 9.1 assists, 5 blocks, and 5 steals per game. Then in his senior season, he topped that by averaging a triple-double, putting up 23.9 points per game, 11.3 rebounds, and 11.7 assists. He was named the National Prep Player of the Year and Mr. Basketball USA. He was also the 3rd-ranked high school recruit for the class of 2016, tied actually with Jason Tatum. And the hype continued even further during his lone season with the UCLA Bruins, in which he led the Bruins to a 31-5 record, leading the nation in assists, which for anybody who follows college basketball is incredibly hard to do, because you're talking about thousands of Division I athletes where you have some players playing in no-name conferences and racking up big stats as a result. Lonzo also received Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, won as a consensus first-team All-Pac-12 player, and was the only freshman to be the finalist for the Naismith College Player of the Year. Now, Lonzo, shortly after his freshman season concluded, he did declare for the NBA draft, and of course, this is where the hype of which his father instilled really started taking off, and what was speaking into existence that he would become an LA Laker. When the Lakers were slated to select number 2 overall in the 2017 draft, it was basically a foregone conclusion that Lonzo would in fact become a Laker, as most assumed Markelle Fultz would be the number 1 overall pick going to the Sixers, which was the case. And when the Lakers were on the clock to make their selection at number 2, they did select Lonzo Ball. Now, Lonzo's 2 seasons that he did play with the Lakers were met with a bit of criticism, polarization, skepticism, because really, Lonzo, yes, he showed a lot of promise, but he was also not even close to what he was cracked up to be coming into the league. Lonzo's skinny frame and physique struggled to match the physicality of the NBA compared to going against high school and collegiate athletes. And he got pushed around quite a bit because of that, because the league really started to resent him because of this narrative that his father was really building around him. And the biggest criticism was Lonzo's incredibly awkward shot. The defenses were much better able to defend him because of his low release on his shot. Lonzo also wasn't as efficient as he was throughout his career in college and in high school, as he shot 36% from the field on 10.2 points per game and 30% from 3. Despite being inefficient, though, he did put up some solid numbers for a rookie, again averaging 10.2 points per game, 7.2 assists and 6.9 rebounds, and 1.7 steals per game. Ended up being selected to an all-rookie team as well. His second season, which was the first season in which LeBron James joined the Lakers, Ball's numbers dipped a bit in terms of his overall averages. He averaged less than 10 points per game and 5-5, but on improved efficiency. However, after the Lakers failed to reach the playoffs and with LeBron's window closing on a championship, the Lakers made a push to trade for Anthony Davis, and as a result, Lonzo was included in that trade package that sent him to the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, without rambling on about the background of Lonzo's history and where he got to today too much, Lonzo did improve his game over the course of the 2 seasons with the Pelicans, but most notably what he dramatically improved, and really, I should say just completely changed, was his overall shot. Lonzo went from being a career 42% free throw shooter, which is absolutely abysmal. He jumped those numbers up to 78% from the line in his second season with the Pelicans. He also improved his three-point shot from 30% to 37%, and doing so on many more attempts per game. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that he completely changed his form and how he shoots the ball. Now, fast forward to the past offseason, and it was starting to become more clear that Lonzo's role in which he played in New Orleans was not being utilized fully to his strengths, and really Stan Van Gundy using him as a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, I guess I should say more of a 3-and-D player, because Lonzo's skills on defense have always been there. So because there was this uncertainty about Lonzo's long-term fit in New Orleans, since he was mainly being used as a shooting guard, and Lonzo wanted to play a bigger role in running an offense, trade rumors started swirling around him all offseason long. And of course, as soon as free agency hit, literally the first minute of free agency, the Bulls executed a sign-and-trade that would send Lonzo Ball to the Bulls to a 4-year deal worth $85 million. Now, fast forward to where we are today. Well, maybe not today, since today the Bulls season is kind of on hold, but you look at the Bulls team, currently sitting 17-10, still second in the East despite all of the protocol absences, and you look at what Lonzo has been able to do in terms of impacting the overall success of the team, especially on the defensive end, has been a huge part in why the Bulls have done so well. Because yes, DeMar DeRozan, Zach Lavine have been incredible in the way that they have been carrying this team on offense, but without the strong defensive effort and intensity for which Lonzo brings, which of course Caruso is a big part of that as well, but without that elite defense, this Bulls team wouldn't be sitting as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And it was something this Bulls team so desperately needed to have, not only a playmaker, but a strong perimeter defender, which is just something they did not have at all last season. Lonzo and his ability to keep up the pace and move the ball quickly in transition was what makes him so special with the Bulls offense, in which they have 3 elite scorers on the team, 2 of which are averaging over 25 points per game. And the Bulls, the system that they run is heavily predicated on pace, ball movement, and getting out for quick plays in transition, which is exactly the type of role for which Lonzo Ball can thrive in. Not only that, but in a role for which he's not expected to take on as much of a scoring load when you already have Lavine, DeRozan, and Vucevic. It enables Ball to focus on what he does best in running the floor in transition, keeping the flow and pace of the offense with his playmaking and strong, hard-nosed defense. It's what Lonzo Ball does best, and he's found the perfect home and environment in Chicago where he's finally valued for his contributions and wanted by his team and his fans. You know, we talk about Caruso and his ability to snatch cookies all the time, which rightfully so. He's currently the best in the league at it. But Lonzo makes that incredible perimeter defense of the Bulls that much better with the way that he's able to pickpocket guys and lock down some of the best scorers in the game, which we have seen him do against James Harden, Luka Doncic, his brother LaMelo Ball. And when you look at the numbers, currently, Lonzo is 6th in the league in total steals, 10th in the league in steals per game, 14th in the league in defensive box plus minus, 11th in the league in defensive win shares, 1st on the Bulls roster of the aforementioned defensive categories as well as defensive rating, and he also leads the team in assists and blocks, which is crazy that a point guard leads the team in blocks per game. Not only that, but he also leads the team in three-point shooting at 42% on 7.3 attempts per game. As I've said before, the only thing I would like to see more from Lonzo is consistency on offense, especially with his outside shooting, because even though he leads the team in three-point shooting, he will go some nights where he'll shoot 1 for 11 from behind the arc. But one step at a time. Overall, I have been very, very impressed with what he's been able to bring to this team, especially on the defensive end. And I feel like not enough credit goes to his effort on defense, because a lot of the defensive metrics like deflections, disruptions from the flow of offense, opponent's field goal percentage for the man that he's been guarding, a lot of that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. And it's those intangibles like that that have enabled the Bulls to perform so well this season. Key areas of their game they simply just did not have last year. So I want to formally apologize for my skepticism, my hesitation, my criticisms of Lonzo Ball that I spoke of on this channel over the past season, because Lonzo Ball has really proven me wrong and why he fits perfectly with this team, not just for this season, but in seasons to come. Let me know what you guys have been feeling about Lonzo Ball so far this year. Is he what you expected thus far, 27 games into the season? Has he exceeded your expectations, or maybe you actually expected more of him? Let me know in the comments. And guys, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.